welcome. This is our session number 4 of our Pause and Glow chat. I am Josei Harris, Black Bella Spa curator, Black Bella Academy founder, and just a woman of a certain age. So today we're going to share just all things womandom. In this space, we love to talk about menopause, perimenopause, post-menopause, just all things, again, womandom, because these things that are happening to us begin right at our 20s. This isn't like an old person thing or a young person thing. It's just a female human thing. So why don't we do some introductions of our Academy partners who have joined as well. We have Dr. Angelia from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Perfect. So Dr. Angelia, she actually is one of our specialists that provides hormone replacement therapies and other solutions for her clients and people around. So if anyone is interested in meeting with Dr. Angelia to learn more about their baseline, where they are, what's happening with their system, do a telephone consultation, or even come to visit Louisiana for treatment, that is always available. And then we have Miss Terraine. She is in Connecticut, and Terraine manages her practice. The acronym is BABY, Be a Better You. So mental health for young people, families, all things mental health and wellness, and having a collaboration where you're bringing in physical medical care, alternative wellness, and then also the mental health component. And then we also have our pharmacology doctor joining us today as well. So it is super, super powerful when you can touch different facets and different parts of this health journey. Why don't we open up the chat, and as I said, do some introductions. I can introduce the ladies and these specialists, but it is nothing like having their own self introductions. And also, I have a question for you guys. Please let us know and share what you guys are working on in your practices to date, because I know that we have some special rollouts, and I've heard something about peptides. Again, we have the pellets and all these other solutions. So please share away.
Hello, everyone. I am so glad that you guys can make it tonight to hear this informational session on hormones and all things wellness is what I call it. I'm Dr. Honora in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have a med spa called Palace for Healthy Living. I do anything from weight management to IV hydration therapy. I do hormone replacement therapy with pellets, injections, creams, whatever there may be out there that will help us prevent some of the diseases that we're coming across. Those are some of the things that I do. I also have laser hair removal, laser facial rejuvenation. We have it all. We're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. If you guys have any questions after this session, we'll have my information posted so that you can come in and call me if you need. We can do a consultation about where you stand. I can pretty much give you all the information that you'll need to bring forth to your own doctors just to see where you are hormonal wise, especially if your age is 40 and above.
And thank you, Dr. Angelia. And so one of the things that I wanted to share with Dr. Angelia pointed out, these are things that we've talked to in our first few sessions. So if you haven't caught sessions 1 through 3, please treat yourself to the information. So one of my big aha moments was understanding what the onset of menopause means to your body and your systems. See, in the past, I thought menopause was all about hot flashes and weight gain. As Dr. Angelia mentioned, menopause actually impacts several of your body's systems that cause actual disease. It helps cancers grow. We're talking about dementia, plaques on the brain, heart disease. There are all these other life impacting and threatening diseases that are actually aligned to menopause when it's not managed. So that was the first thing. The other component to it is when we think about our aesthetic, how we look. There are so many solutions that are available to us for skin condition, the belly bulge, the weight gain. All of these things are some of the symptoms when you start to lose elasticity, collagen, and you just quite frankly age. But what we want to share, let everyone know, is that we're in a space where we're able to uplift and provide solutions for all of the above. And when we think about solutions, are a plethora of ways that you can have hormone replacement therapies and balance. I used to simply think that it was some type of injectable only. There are trans epidermal solutions where you can have a patch, you can have a cream. You can do a pellet where you kind of set it and forget it. It's installed, and then you
That's
allow
it.
it to do what it's going to do. So there are just so many different solutions that can be customized to every person's needs. So that is one of the big giant aha moments there. And then we have our mental health partner, Terraine. So, Miss Terraine, if you would introduce yourself and let us know what you are working on this H1 as well.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me today. Again, my name is Terraine Jamison, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have my own family wellness practice. We service kids as well as adults, as well as folks that are in relationships. So we offer traditional counseling as well as holistic interventions like red light therapy, hydrogen therapy, martial arts, yoga. But we also work with a lot of our couples because menopause doesn't always it doesn't just focus on the woman, it affects the whole family. So we do work with the couples on understanding what menopause is. So I'm glad to be here. I can address any of the mental health questions because it does affect us on a psyche level. So thank you.
And Terraine, thank you for honing in on the mental health component of it, because when these changes are happening to us, they definitely impact not just our mood, but the actual chemicals in our brain and other chemicals in our body. One of the things I wanted to actually bring up today was the olfactory part. Um, Menopause stinks. It's not, the things are not the same. I'm having like chlorophyll water and all of these other solutions because there is a different aroma in my body. Like, and no one is really speaking about these things. So Dr. Angelia, can you give us some insight? Like, what is that all about? Like, I think it's pH, but it's something else. Can you share what you can? Let's share some insight on that scientifically, because I know it's different. I just don't know why.
Josie, what exactly are you asking for again? I'm sorry.
It's like the smells. Like, I noticed that body odors are totally different
Yeah.
once you get into, I don't know what phase of menopause this is, but there are things that didn't used to smell, and I'm like, I, it's a lot. I'm using persimmon soap, as I said, chlorophyll water. I'm putting deodorant in places where I didn't used to need deodorant, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world? You know, and I'm walking around like, who is that? But I'm noticing and speaking with so many women coming through the practice, other people are having these issues as well. Do you know that's why our body scrub has gotten so popular? A lot of women really like it for that. So, what is it scientifically that is shifting and changing that's making the actual olfact, the smell that we're giving off, so different?
Right. So I can't say it's specific to the smell, but our pH balance changed. Like there's so many ways we can change our pH balances, and especially when our hormones are off, we tend to get, I guess you can say UTIs. You have vaginal dryness. It's all types of stuff, especially in women when your progesterone and your estrogen is low, and that's usually past the age of 40. So more women start, noticing that change in their body odors. They notice change in mood, change in all types of things change when you start going through menopause, or perimenopause is what we call it. You go through different phases of menopause. But once we are age 40, I can say at age 30, we go back to age 30, you are 30, and then hormonal decline starts at that age. every 10 years, we drop by a decade almost. So our levels really drop, and I believe that could be one of the reasons why our pH balances change also, because there's a shift in our vaginal areas where the estrogen sort of protected that. We have the progesterone that protect our uterine, and it's just one of those things that we end up developing along with the belly fat, along with all the stubborn fats that we can't get rid of.
It is a remarkable shift for me. And one of the things that I've noticed is even just like sweating, everything is just like a different, it's just different. My diet hasn't changed much and things like that. But one of the things you talked about was the progesterone. And I actually had told you guys on the last session, I've been trying a wild yam progesterone cream. And I believe it's helped a bit with like sweats and things like that. But talk to us more about those baselines. You mentioned it before, like what should people get? How do they get a hold of that baseline panel from you so that they can take it to a lab or a local physician or someone to figure out what is their baseline? Where are they to date?
Okay. So, I mean, as everyone knows, we have these little powerful chemicals, messengers that's working in our bodies. They're basically our hormones. Those main hormones that I sort of horn down on is progesterone, testosterone, estradiol, and I usually will add in vitamin D. Well, those particular hormones all work synergistically together. So if one is low, then usually you're going to have some lows on both ends. So after about age 40, like I said before, our hormone levels drop because we're going outside of the reproductive age where these are hormones that we were born with. These are hormones that God gave us. And these hormone works on every receptor in the body. And our main hormone that it works on is the brain. Okay. So I'm just going to make a little curve here and talk about that. Josie was talking about all the chronic diseases that one of the things is I'm heartfelt and I'm in love with trying to prevent these diseases. The brain we have so many receptors, and the progesterone, the testosterone, the estrogen, they all work on the brain. The thyroid, it works on every receptor in the body. But one of the things that we end up having in this day and age now is more memory care homes. Those memory care homes are coming in because our testosterones are low, our estrogens are low, and our progesterone is low. When we correct one, we correct all. So I call that optimizing our levels, not a normal level, because every single patient that come in that has had a hysterectomy or that has reached the age of 50, they tell me, oh, my doctor said my labs are normal. Well, I'm not looking for a normal level. I'm looking to optimize your levels, because the normal to them, as far as estrogen, is going to be 0 to 0.4 to whichever, maybe 20. That is totally not a normal. And Sadie Jen is on here, Dr. Jen. She is so, oh my God, so smart. When you call her up, she'll be able to really break some of this stuff down to you also. And but those numbers that all the doctors say is normal, we don't look at those numbers to prevent. We're looking at those numbers as a lab reference. And that's not the goal for me. I'm trying to prevent heart disease, okay, which low testosterone can lead you there. I'm trying to prevent breast cancer, GI upset or cancer, stomach cancers. We're trying to prevent Alzheimer's. And that's one of the biggest things that we're leading up to right now is Alzheimer's, because our testosterone is low, our estrogen is low, and we are not correcting this stuff. These women are coming in with hysterectomies, and they're not being replaced. Their hormones are not being replaced. So you have 0 estrogen and progesterone once you go into menopause. We want to replace that. We want to make people feel like they're back in their 30s and 40s. And so those are some of the things, and I can give you eventually some signs and some symptoms that you'll have if you're low, but we do a complete lab panel. That it's a hormonal lab panel is what I call it. And that particular panel it guides me on how to treat my patients. And I can actually share information with you guys if y'all want to do a consult later to, guide you on what you need to be asking your doctors for, what labs you need to have drawn. And we can look at those labs and tell you where they're going wrong. Because it's not that the doctors don't know, it's not that they don't know how to treat hormones. It's a lot of people, it's a lot of stuff into it. It's not just looking at a lab and determining, oh, you need to be treated. But everybody, that's going to be treating it, I would say to go to somebody that's certified.
I love that. And so one thing with when you talk about the labs is the fact that a typical physician, they are giving us such a different baseline. And I want to highlight Dr. Sadie. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate you for being here so very, very much. And so it's very different because you almost need to go to a specialist or someone that's going to advocate for you. I remember when I was starting perimenopause and I was in my early 40s, I really don't know when it started because everyone kept on telling me that my symptoms were normal or they didn't mean anything, and so some of the other things that are very, very interesting to me is the fact that we will stay on a hormone therapy and not realize it for decades. So many of us are on birth control. So is there any understanding on how that impacts the onset of menopause? Because I literally went from having menstruation to, oh, let me just get on birth control. And then I'm on birth control for the majority of my adult life. And then when I stopped the birth control, I never had, air quotes, a regular menstruation cycle. So the next thing I know, I don't recall ever being able to track my menses, right? So the next thing I know, I'm having irregular. It's like, what's going on? Do I have fibroids? What is happening to my body? Never really knew until one day I thought I was having a miscarriage. And they're like, no, you just have heavy flow because you haven't had a cycle for several months or something crazy. And the next thing that I learned is it's happening. Your hormones are off the chart because one physician believed in what I was telling him and listened to me. He gave me some type of hormone panel that indicated, yeah, you're actually in the throes of perimenopause. My GYN wouldn't test me. Other medical doctors wouldn't test me. Everyone else just, brushed off the symptoms and went on. It was even to a point where someone had offered me a prophylactic hysterectomy.
Oh.
She told me, she said, well, you said you don't really want any kids, so you'll stop bleeding if we take it out. That's not medicine to me, just weird stuff. So again, advocacy, information, comprehension, all of these things come into play. So really, really interesting journey as a woman. Yeah. So can we bring up Dr. Sadie? Is she in a space where she can come on and we can introduce her? And so, and aside from what you mentioned as well about testing and everything else, and just understanding, there's so much with the journey of menopause that we don't know and we don't understand, that we need information. We need a place to share, a resource bank and something like that. So
yeah, there's so much information out there. People really don't know. It's becoming a thing where there's more information coming. Yeah. And it's becoming more available basically. But we've been talking about depression for the longest. We have so many patients. I went and spoke for a women's health event where I'm just up there talking about hormones in general, and some of the women ran after me after coming out saying, wow, oh my God, these are all the symptoms that I have, and I've just been thrown on depression medication and anxiety medication. What about our night sweats that we start in our early 40s, the heavy menses that you mentioned, the joint pain? Nobody thinks about the joint pain. Nobody thinks about headaches. It's all of those things that play a role in it. And when we talk about what these actual hormones do for our bones, for our mental health, for all of the things that most women come into my office and they're suffering with.
Yeah.
These are the things I'm always telling them, hey, you have hormone deficiencies. And they tell me, well, my doctor told me not to ever start hormone replacement therapy. Now,
Wow.
how in the world are you protecting someone? We talk about this thing called, I mean, I'd hate to say it, but there's big pharma that where, illness is sometimes better than prevention. So at this point, the people that can prevent, we just step up and we talk about it.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is Sadie. I was trying to take my phone off of mute. I can't come on camera, but I just want to say thank you for having me and for joining tonight. This is great information. I love that everybody's in one spot. This is definitely something, with a Western medicine degree, having a doctorate of pharmacy, you touch on it for, you know, a few hours in a course, maybe 8 hours total, and then you move on.
Wow.
And, I certainly was very good at diagnosing and doing all the things. And then, of course, as a pharmacist, there's a band-aid for everything. I was great. This is a symptom. This is what you have. This is what you're diagnosed with. This is what they're going to give you. And that was just, my degree. And anyway, I guess through my own health journey is where I got to where I am today. And suffering through all the things that y'all are talking about, I started actually going through menopause at 35. And birth control was the only thing since 13 that they told me, I mean, I was hemorrhaging at 13. I was anemic, and my parents weren't medical people. So finally at like 14, my family doctor was like, okay, she needs to go see a specialist. And so go to an OB, terrified at 13, 14 years old. And the only thing they could do was put me on birth control. So they put me on birth control. And then, I just listened to them, but then I kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. So then they put me on the strongest one on the market. And she said, if this doesn't work, we have to do a DNC. I was 16, didn't know what any of that meant. So thankfully, the strongest one worked. And I stayed on it for a long time. And then thankfully I had a child at 29. And
Wow.
then but then after that, like, I guess I got back on birth control after having a child. And I don't know, like I started having, they didn't put me on the highest dose because I don't know, I was getting older. But then at 35, they wanted to do, like you said, voluntary hysterectomy because I kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. And they were like, we can't go up on the birth control because you have a higher risk for stroke. So I opted not to do that. And I'm glad I didn't. But then I wound up doing an IUD. And, of course, it stopped the bleeding and I thought I felt great. But that's when my nightmare really started. And it was great because I wasn't bleeding all month long, but at the same time, everything was going on. Started having debilitating anxiety to where I thought I had like mental problems. I had severe anxiety. I didn't sleep for years. Got to where I couldn't handle the anxiety of just like having, a blended family and then children at home. And then it really was like I even quit a job. So got brushed off for a long time until I hit rock bottom because I wanted to have a child and I was turning 40. So, you know, I had, was 30 pounds, 40 pounds heavier, was really miserable, knew I wasn't feeling good, but I finally went to the doctor. I'm like, hey, can y'all check my hormones? Something like I can't shake this weight. I'm macro counting, working out an hour and a half every single day, walking 10,000 steps with a vest all the other days. And just nothing was working anymore. And I didn't really know that I was going through menopause. And so by the time I got there, they were like, you're too old. Like your AMH is almost zero and you're infertile and you're almost done with menopause, by the way. So all the from 35 to 40, all those diagnoses, they were checking me for autoimmune diseases. I had like terrible aches and pains in my joints, just like weight that wouldn't go away, started losing an astronomical amount of hair. The brain fog, the insomnia, I mean, itchy ear. I had eczema behind my ears. It all, and I never knew that that's what people went through or what women experienced. So that's kind of like my why as to where I got to where I am today. Um, did get a certification through WorldLink Medical. I trained with them with some physicians from California, and they taught me how to optimize patients. So again, we use the word optimal. We don't want to be normal. Western medicine's normal is what like an 80-year-old's numbers look like. without any medication. I don't want to be a normal 80-year-old. I want to be optimal. So the way that they taught us, which is the way that I practice with different physicians and different clinics, is we optimize the patient's hormones to how they should have been when they were 25. So the 5 biomarkers that we optimize, which you honestly can get rid of 80% of people's problems if you do this, is the thyroid, insulin, testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen. And so that's kind of how I practice. And along that journey, God led me to come across peptides. And so my specialty is optimizing hormones and then also using peptides. I've helped so many clients and getting a lot more reach and traction these days. Working with clinics in 3 states to educate the either doctors or nurse practitioners or healthcare providers in those states to bring awareness. And it all started with me wanting to bring light about menopause, about
Yeah.
something I was going through that none of my other friends were going through at the time. And for whatever reason, my ovaries have failed early. So, you know, nobody can explain it. And this happens to some women, but I did have problems since I was younger. And the only thing that anybody could ever say was birth control, birth control. And so I'm really against it,
Yeah.
in all honesty.
And
So
in
that's
your journey,
kind of what
thank
it
you
is.
so much for sharing, Dr. Sadie. We appreciate you just letting us inside and hearing your journey, because so many of the things that have happened to you are happening to other women, and we're doing it by ourselves in silence, and we simply don't know. And you brought up something very important, the DNC. I had a DNC when I was about 20 years old as well, just going through the ebbs and flows of all of these changes in our bodies. And it's so interesting because you can't really pinpoint when it started, because medicine is simply treating the symptoms. It's not treating a root cause. It's not even looking for the
Right.
root cause. So I went
No.
through some of that similar, the birth control pills, the patch, the this to that. So a lot of us are dealing with it. And it was very also interesting where you mentioned they didn't want to put you back on birth control because of the risks of stroke. My physicians
Right.
never
And
even
that's
mentioned it to
crazy.
me.
So that's the crazy part, and I knew that. But then now that now that I got the education and I practice this, like I can never unsee what I've seen. The cat's out of the bag and it's not going back in. Now the
Mhm.
FDA's come out and admitted it, which is like I got all this education and started this kind of movement in my own area before the FDA came out and said it. But that was part of my WorldLink medical training. I mean, they really debunked the entire WHI study and they were like, it's so flawed. Like, this is so false. And they have 30 years of data because they always practiced against they were against the grain. They have 30 years of data of patients that they've helped. Like, people with PCOS totally flipped it. People that were, helped with the fertility journey, they have 70, 80, 90-year-old patients still exercising and running marathons because they optimize these patients' hormones to like they were when they were 25. And then the age-related diseases, you don't get dementia, they don't have heart disease, they're not getting cancer, they're keeping their bone mass, their muscle mass. And it's just pretty amazing to see the data that they've collected by practicing their own way. So, I can't unlearn any of these things, and that's kind of why like I wanted to share all
Yes.
these things with everybody. And then along the way, again, God led me. I came across peptides, and that was life changing. So, the hormones, I probably lost my first 20 pounds optimizing my hormones and just feeling better. Oh my gosh, finally sleeping through the night. One progesterone pill, one night changed my life.
Wow.
And it was years that I was on Ambien. I'd have to take Xanax. If, I'd take one or the other to try and get some sleep, be up at 2 o'clock every single night. And so anyway, it's been a tough journey, but I did discover peptides alongside of that halfway through my journey. And I kind of decided to specialize in peptides and hormones. And it's turned out to be extreme, like amazing. You can
So we
really
want to
help to
learn more about
optimize.
it. We want to learn more
Okay.
about these peppers. So let me tell everyone, a few people have joined the call since you were kind of in the middle of talking. So we have Dr. Angelia Honora here with us from the Palace of Healthy Living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have Miss Terraine Jamison with us from Build a Better You Mental Health Practice in Connecticut. Terraine, I can never remember your city. I don't know why. It's a part of the blame it on menopause.
Hartford, Connecticut.
We have Dr. Sadie with us. She's am I say, catch me if I'm saying this incorrectly, for a doctor of pharmacology.
Yeah, I'm a doctor of pharmacy. I have my doctorate degree.
Perfecto. So with this collaboration, guys, we have solutions. We're talking about the total impact of menopause on a human, right? The mental health components, the physical. What do? Do you have hormone replacement therapies? Are you doing pellets? Are you doing peptides? But tonight we want to highlight Dr. Sadie and talk more about peptides, because me as a skincare professional, I use a ton of peptides. I wish that I could drink them, sleep in them, bathe in them. I would put them on my toes to my fingertips if I could. But tell us more about how the peptides be, and correct us if wrong, or if correct me if I am wrong. What is a peptide? I believe it's like a chain that links an amino acid protein. So tell us what it is, Dr. Sadie.
So if you have a protein, that's at least 50 amino acids. So peptides are short chain amino acids. They can range from 3 to almost 50. And so, and then there's a wide variety. I mean, there's hundreds of peptides that scientists have discovered. I kind of am on the journey and I'm learning more as I go. There's some foundational peptides. I mean, everybody probably is aware that Ozempic is actually a peptide. Insulin is a peptide. And that was like insulin was discovered, I think, like in the 1920s. You have Ozempic, super useful. Next came Manjaro, and then now they have the retatrutide. And so, I've had experience with all of them. The industry that I'm in, because not all of these peptides are FDA approved, because there haven't been clinical studies done. I'm in the area where it's research. So it's human grade research peptides. And that's in the area that I kind of practice because, the FDA doesn't regulate it, but I work with the manufacturer directly, with FDA registered facility, third party tested 3 times, because to use these peptides, the FDA hasn't approved it. So most, if you go that route, you can't get your hands on any of these things. And honestly, these are super useful tools. So amino acids, just short chains, things like lysine is an amino acid. So when you put it in a certain sequence, these things, when injected, goes into your body and it sends, imagine like a text message to all your cells. So what I love about like retatrutide, when you do that injection, it affects 3 receptors, the GIP, GLP, and now the glucagon receptor, and the results are amazing. It goes to all the cells in your body and it sends a message, hey, burn fat and spare muscle. And in all honesty, raises the resting metabolic rate.
Need that.
And it really like changes your metabolic health. There are studies that, Ozempic can shrink a tumor like 4 times. Retatrutide's coming out already that it's 14 times better than Ozempic. That it can shrink a tumor 14 times when Ozempic could shrink it 4. Um, we all know that cancer, like uptakes glucose. So this changes. I'm not saying it cures cancer, but I'm just saying that whenever you're taking this, it's certainly helpful. I mean, retatrutide is amazing at systemic inflammation, autoimmune disease. And so if it's not, in my opinion, I hate when people label it weight loss. Of course, that's a side effect, but it is changing you to be more metabolically fit. And it kind of addresses some of the dysfunction that our bodies are going through, the systemic inflammation during menopause. Whenever we're inflamed and we have that 20, 30 pounds, all our cells are inflamed and they're not wanting to exchange information, and they're not very sensitive to insulin, and they're not wanting to listen. So taking retatrutide or any of the GLPs is really helpful and useful. And it's a useful tool, which that's kind of how I broke into the industry, because I was suffering with all those things. And when I tell you it worked like a charm. And that's probably why I fell in love with it. And that's one of the ones that I use a lot of. But there are other ones, healing peptides, for inflammation. There's some that signal, your brain to produce more signals for your ovaries to work better or your testes to work better. So there's a peptide called kispeptin that, is used in infertility for both husband and wife, that it signals their body to produce more testosterone, more estrogen, and it just makes their organs work more efficiently.
Optimally. And I'm so happy that you brought that up, because that was a huge question from me a couple of sessions ago. I wanted to know more about the Ozempic babies, because we have all these women who are on Ozempic in their 50s and they're getting pregnant. And now it makes sense. And Dr. Angelia enlightened us about that, the reduction of the inflammation. So you're optimizing your systems. And what is the term you just used?
Yes.
Metabolically fit. I love that.
Metabolically fit, because your mitochondria, are either damaged, and so that's the powerhouse of the cell. So this
Yes.
really helps with systemic inflammation. I can tell you that the reason why those Ozempic babies, and that they really tried to put me on it when I was trying to have a baby initially, before I realized it was too far gone. She begged me to get on tirzepatide, and I was like, "Look, I have a bad taste in my mouth about Ozempic. I lost a ton of hair. I tried it. It actually threw me into worse of a tailspin because I lost." Like, I did Ozempic when it first came out, like went to a weight loss clinic. Month 2, I was so proud I lost 10 pounds. But when I did my in-body scan, I had lost 5 pounds of muscle at a critical age that it wasn't cool to lose muscle. When I got off, when I realized I lost the muscle and I was losing hair, it was too late. It really threw me metabolically into a tailspin, and straight, I think, worse into menopause. So the rebound weight was worse. And then, like, the next year and a half to 2 years was worse. So I was super resistant to get on it, but I did because I knew about the Ozempic babies. So I was like, okay, let me get on it. But the reason why the Ozempic or Monjaro, whatever, works is because it's mostly women with PCOS. A lot of women have PCOS, and that's insulin resistance at the ovarian level. You may not have insulin resistance in your body, but if your LH and your FSH numbers are flipped, so if your LH is higher than or equal to your FSH number, that is like one of the things that our doctors teach, that you treat that woman like she has PCOS. Don't ask any more questions. PCOS could be one symptom or it could be 50 symptoms. But if you see that flip, your ovaries are not responding to insulin like it should. So that's kind of, in my opinion, it gets rid of the systemic inflammation. But what you're doing is you're also making those ovaries, better at insulin metabolism whenever you give something like an Ozempic, Monjaro, or retatrutide.
I'm very interested in retatrutide. Like, that sounds like my jam. The muscle loss. So I am actually doing all the things that typical medicine has taught the menopausal woman to do. I'm on a low dose of antidepressant. I'm on semaglutide. Like, so from the exterior, it looks like it's going well, but the muscle mass loss is chewing me up from the
Yeah,
inside out.
that's the cardinal. I'm telling you, like, the non-negotiables of all my patients. It's like you have to eat 120 grams of protein. If you've taken semaglutide, I'm sorry, you probably can't stomach it. And I say 120. Like, some of these women are maybe eating 60 a day. When you like, I know when I took semaglutide, I was like super busy with children, so it's like you kind of forget to eat, and it was easy to
Yes.
forget to eat. So, and I thought that was so great. I lost 10 pounds. But whenever you track, like, with an in body scan and you see your muscle mass, I did and in 1 month I lost 5 pounds of muscle. I mean, I was on the same in body scan, and I thought, oh heck no. And I didn't even know what I know now, but muscle mass is so important because of the insulin receptors that your muscles have. And so you're more metabolically fit when you have the muscles. Plus it helps with the skeleton, like with your bones and stuff and tendons
Yes.
and everything
The
else.
support,
But
correct.
correct. So, and also you said something earlier, I wanted to chime in, but I didn't have my microphone on. So you were asking why the different smells and changes.
Yes.
And from a functional medicine standpoint, I can kind of speak to this because, like, I dive deeper. I'll probably never stop learning. But I had the same thing, y'all. It was terrible. Like, my underarms, I used to never wear deodorant, stunk so bad that I was embarrassed. I would wash my armpits multiple times a day and apply deodorant. So, kind of studying different things, right? Functional medicine, Chinese medicine.
Mm.
And the funny thing is, like, one armpit stunk worse than the other one. So, like, my right armpit stunk worse, and then in Chinese medicine, that's your liver. My
Mm.
liver was so congested. My left one represents your kidneys. So when I started to take glutathione shots, I started to detox. I started to drink, like, get really hydrated, like drink Baja Gold sea salt, to give my body the minerals it needed. When I started doing those detox things and the inflammation started coming down, to be honest, like I don't have to wear deodorant anymore at all. I don't have a smell, but my liver was so congested. Like that's part of also when you're gaining the weight, and we're talking about metabolic dysfunction and systemic inflammation and insulin resistance. A lot of that, like your liver's your biggest detox organ. So a lot of times when I start with people, like we start with liver health, we start with detoxes. You can do castor oil packs with a heating pad on top of your liver. You can do detox baths, saunas, anything to try and clear that liver out. Glutathione injections, glutathione IVs, like doing a push before you do an IV of glutathione. Those are all things that help. So
I love that. Great information. Ladies, please, if you guys have any questions at all, I shared all my crazy stuff. So please ask away. Do not hesitate. It is a safe space. We usually don't have access to information like this, right? It's usually so siloed and so just hidden, and you don't understand why these things are happening. But I love that Dr. Sadie kind of honed in on some of the actual root causes and some of those homeopathic indicators, because when I tell you all, I know that things are just changing and shifting for so many of us, and it's just so far beyond what we know. And then the thing that's really strange about it is it's normalized across the board. So in talking to hundreds and hundreds of women coming through the practice, I hear the same and super similar things being said so often that I figured we had to come together and talk about it and have a place where we can get some answers and some resources. Dr. Sadie, if someone wanted to reach out to you, what is your process like? Do you do consultations, any remote assessments, anything like that?
I do most of my work remotely. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, my website is under construction right now. But you can email me. My email address to my business is info at CajunVitality.com. That's CajunVitality. So CajunVitality.com. Info at CajunVitality.com, and I can process that request. But typically everything I do is remotely via FaceTime or coaching over the phone. If I can't work with you, then I usually give you the information. We do like a consult. I can, help you with the labs or even teach you what to tell your practitioner. I mean, I do this all day long. Clients approach me and, I kind of look at their blood work and then we go from there because there's such a need for people. Like people are so tired and they're so tired of being gaslit and then not having answers. And so, yes, I'll be happy to help anyone that wants to reach out. You're welcome to email me at that email address and we will certainly set something up.
Love that. So do we have any questions? I don't want to speak over anyone. Just if anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand, unmute your mic and jump right in, or just type it into the chat and we'll be happy to give you guys whatever information we can. And after the chat, we will share everything on YouTube and there'll be contacts for each of the ladies there for sure. So we were talking a bit, I wanted to go back to the mental health component of all of this. I had read a statistic that over 70% of divorces were attributed to menopause. That's insane. And it definitely makes me understand a lot of our decision-making process. So from the mental health component, or vantage point of this all, Terraine, can you share with us some of the impact that you've seen with like families and couples, because that is your space, your niche?
Absolutely. We've had clients that would come into the agency where women just feel like, of course, you're not feeling like yourself and something is wrong and something is going on. I had a client where she had just gotten married with her husband, and that's when her menopause started to really click in. And she just started first of all, her body changed, right? And then sexually, things were hurting. It was dry. And she just didn't have the urge to want to have sex. And then she also mentioned about you guys mentioned the UTIs. She was getting those. So she started, it can really play on your mind because you're wondering what's going on with me and then what's going on with him. Is he doing anything? And so they would come into session and I would just have to educate both of them about what menopause is and how it affects the body, how, as you all said, the just the hormone levels change. And so once we started educating the husband, now there's a plan in place where, when she's irritable, she has a place where she can go to. He's more supportive because he knows it's not him, it's something that she's experiencing. And so you are absolutely right. So divorces do happen, but that's why it is so important that we educate not only the women, but we need to educate the men and the husbands as well. As women, like you said, we don't really know what's going on. We've heard our parents talk about this menopause thing, and as we talked about in previous sessions, that maybe it's the hot flashes, and we always talk about that, but we don't talk about the things that we're talking about now. How it affects the body, how it affects it. We didn't know that a lot of these things contribute to Alzheimer's, right? Because of just we have the lack of sleep. You go for hours without, I mean, days, years sometimes without sleeping. So no wonder you're irritable. No wonder you have the brain fog. No wonder the relationships are having are conflict because you're not yourself. And then you start wondering, am I depressed? And no, a lot of times they put you on the depression medication, but you're not depressed. You need to regulate your hormones. It's not the anxiety. You say your heart, a lot of times women come to me and say that their hearts are palpitating, have a lot, this irregular heartbeats, it's just fast, and they think that they have anxiety. No, it's your hormones. And so it's the more the education that we have for the women as well as with the husbands, I think that the relationships get stronger because now husbands are more patient and they have the education. It's not about what's wrong with me, it's about what's going on with my lady and how can I support her.
That makes perfect sense. And I did see a gentleman online mention it, and he says, like, we are going through menopause. And he was sitting there, it was funny. He had a hot tea, a coat, a scarf, and gloves, drinking the tea inside. And he's like, yeah, we're going through menopause. And I'm like, that's right, staying with her.
Right. Because
but
it's something we're all going to go through. We're
all
going
to
all going to go through. And it's not just the woman, it's the family.
But it will play tricks on your mind to have you thinking that you're going crazy, they're going crazy. And I know some of us have heard people say he just keeps chewing. I had a client who said he just keeps breathing. I was like, well, he can't even breathe. Like so where everything just bothers you, where you're so irritated and things of that sort. But once you can get some things in balance and get some support and get some understanding so that you aren't just reacting poorly for no reason. I was having emotional outbursts and things like that as well, like entire monologues by myself, just sitting there. I'm sitting perfectly still in the meeting, but inside I'm just like yelling, sweating, all out of control. I can't even focus on what's going on because of what my brain and my body is doing. So it is happening to each of us, and it's happening at different levels. And then another thing to be aware of is how long it happens. There is no finite time. I'm learning. You would assume that at some point this thing is just going to stop, and then no, it doesn't. And one other big issue that many women have, and you know what, guys, you know how the algorithm is when you start to search something online, it just keeps serving you that. So apparently I've been looking at vaginal devices. That's all I see now. From red light with Holly Berry to that thing is $500, $400 and something. I'm like, Hallie, that red light doesn't need to cost that amount of money. But to the iJoy, where it's a muscle stimulator to help with your pelvic wall. There are all these things that are physical changes within our female organ, that we need to be aware of. It's the reduction of moisture, the reduction of collagen and elasticity. So you have thinning of the walls, which causes sometimes uncomfortable intercourse. There are solutions. You can walk into your local Walgreens and CVS, and they have different hyaluronic ointments. And I was telling you guys on the last session, even Trojan has gotten into the market. So if you're looking for like a brand that you trust and you're like, I don't want to try all these new things, there are so many solutions. I've even tried hyaluronic acid suppositories. There's a doctor from some reality show, a Black female gynecologist, who endorses those. And I've tried those and they help me out a lot. There's so many different metabolic and physical changes that we will experience. And you need to understand that you don't have to just be stuck there. There are just so many solutions. And this is a space where you can share information, get enlightenment. And then more than anything, get comfortable speaking about it and dialoguing about it. So you do not need to suffer in silence and things like that. So yeah. So did we have any, this is the first time we've had like not one question. Are we sure? Because I know we have like 4.5 minutes left.
So
Any
one thing I just want to say, no question. I don't have another question. I just want to say, Josie, that I want women to just listen to their body and don't stop at one physician. If you're not getting your answers, go to another, because a lot of times women are not heard when they go to the doctors to talk about what these symptoms are. They will diagnose it as something else. So always just rule out things first and go and just continue to go to doctors and let them know what's going on with you, because listen to your body, because you know what you're going through.
Yep. Very, very true. Do not discount it. Do not do it alone. Do not do it in silence. And to Terraine's point, you sometimes have to go through several medical professionals to get some answers. For me, it was my original internal medicine doctor that I had been going to since I was 19, for like 18 or 19 to 40 something years old when he retired. Because of him, I actually found out, hey, kiddo, you're in menopause, like perimenopause at that time. Everyone else told me I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They were just trying to roll me in and out of there. DNCs, birth controls, the prophylactic, what you call that thing? Hysterectomy. Like, who does that? Who does that? And it made me think, it's weird. I see so many women who are like, oh yeah, I'm just getting a partial hysterectomy. It makes me wonder how many people only needed regulation, like hormone regulation. And then also another thing is, many times it's also deficiencies in other things in your body, minerals, vitamins. Dr. Angelia is a genius when it comes to pairing these vitamins and nutrients and balancing the copper and the zinc and all these things. We simply don't know. And the truth of the matter is we're not able to get those nutrients and things from food anymore. Not holistically most of the time. So we need to know which supplements we need and how to, pair things together and create that balance. And what do we say? The metabolically fit body and system. So yes.
Right. So if y'all have any questions for me, y'all are welcome to reach out. Yes, please. That's a great message for all women. Advocate for yourself, and it's okay to fire a physician. It is okay. And it really outrages me that there's physicians that I have gone to and they know that I'm a medical professional, and then they'll look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking Celebrex. Like, I've never abused my body. I knew that something was wrong. And then I don't know. So you definitely can fire a doctor, go see a different one. I know that it gets exhausting, but you have to just like get going at it until you find something that works, and not just a band-aid. But if y'all have any questions, I have all the peptides. I have, a bunch of them. I do sell them. If anyone's interested, I do business to business sales. So if you have a practice, a holistic practice, or, if you have clients that you tend to, I have a lot of tools on in my box when it comes to that. So just know that if anyone needs, just let me know.
Amen. What about that Reddit tribe, Dr.
Yes,
Sadie?
Retatrutide. I do have that. I do
I'll
have
be
the
there.
ones. Yeah, the ones like BP6. So I have one called Clo and Glow. You were talking about like the beauty stuff. I had
Okay.
lost so much hair through the menopause, and the reason is because the shifts and the fluctuations in estrogen. And so the hair follicle actually needs a certain amount of estrogen to remain alive. Anyway, that was a hard lesson I learned. But now that I have the peptides, I started taking the like Glow and Clo, which has copper in it, and it like cures all kinds of, I can't use the word cure. It helps with so many things, but my eyelashes have doubled in length and my hair is coming back so crazy. And that was, I mean, I just got on it for the systemic effects, but then I noticed like my eyelashes were coming back, and then my hairdresser was like, girl, you're like, she was talking about a wig, and I'm not even kidding, because the extensions she couldn't sew in anymore because I was losing that much hair. Totally reversed, and my hair is coming back. She said, look, it looks like it'd be a cancer patient. You just shaved all your head. So great results with that. And anyway, so I have all kinds of things if anybody needs.
Wow. Thank you
Yes.
so very much. Go ahead, Dr. Angelia.
Yes. So I met Sadie, and that's how I got into peptides. Okay. Other than the GLP-1s or whichever. But like Sadie says, it's amazing. Healthcare products It is the liver congestion. I started my husband on that. We talk about the detox, and we talked about that in one of our older recordings also. But Sadie is who told me about the liver detox, and that's why I started the B12, the glutathione, and the lipo C. I started injecting Richard because when you have liver detox, this is massive in causing diabetes. It's massive in causing insulin resistance, and just like she talked about the insulin resistance, I'm testing patients every day. I have people coming to me that has PCOS or did not know they have PCOS, and they look totally different than a person that we think a PCOS patient should have. So in all essence, I would say, just like they said before, don't stop at one doctor. You go to the doctor that that knows this stuff. Go to someone that is certified in it, and just know that when you're replacing one hormone, you need to replace them all. We need to optimize all of them, and they all work synergistically together in preventing chronic diseases.
And thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Angelia. Thank you, Terraine. And thank you, Dr. Sadie. And thank each of you guys for hopping on the call and sharing. And is it Nurse or Dr. Jen? Is she going to come up on the next one? Is it Nurse or Dr. Jen? Because isn't she a nurse?
That's my sister.
Your
I'm
sister.
a nurse practitioner.
Yes, NP Jen. So the next one,
Yes.
you need to come up and share because I know you have to practice in the other state. What state are you in again?
I'm in Mississippi.
In Mississippi. So another
Yes.
resource, guys, if you need some more support, we have someone in Mississippi as well that can support you. And the sisters, Angel, say the name of yours is Angel.
Angel Rose.
Angel Rose.
Aesthetics and Wellness.
Perfect. And you see how everything goes together, the aesthetic and the wellness. But first, if we can get the inside together, the outside naturally glows. So yes, feel better, heal better, and look better, right? Amen.
And if you're in Mississippi, Jen James, Angel Rose Aesthetics and Wellness, she carry all these products.
Amen.
What part of Mississippi?
Yes, I'm in Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg, okay.
Yes.
And is Kayla on here? Kayla was gonna speak. Kayla is on here. So we got a crew for this next Pause and Glow.
Where is Miss Kayla in Mississippi as well?
No, Kayla is in Lafayette. Kayla, can you tell where you're from, where you are? Kayla's in Lafayette, but we are all really working hard together, and we all believe in the same thing. We're all preventing diseases. We want to heal the people before they get sick. So I'm excited about our next Pause and Glow already.
And Miss Talisa just left a note, said she joined late, but you're here. That's most important. And everything that we've talked about is recorded. And as Dr. Angelia said, we're going to continue to share, spread solutions, exchange information. And it doesn't stop here. I'm going to link all of the ladies' contact information in the YouTube chat, if it's okay. And I'll also link their pages and their contact information as well. So please just feel free to reach out, get more information, and see, can you develop a plan to get you onto your next step of your journey as well with grace, right? So thank you guys for joining. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you. And reach out for consults if y'all have any questions.
Yes.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Have a good
night. Thank you. You as well.
Bye.